Hey, this 6-bolt in Von Doom's lab. This is a release video for Hook of the Reaper version 1.3.4 and Lead Hook Strip version 0.5. So I'm not feeling the best right now, so I'm probably going to be kind of quick with the release video. So let's get to it. So for the bugs on Lead Hook Strip, it's kind of the one big bug that I talked about with the display range ordering bug. So display range only worked if it was started with 0 and went sequential. So if you use strip 0 and 1, that would be fine. But if you tried 0 and 2, 2 wouldn't work because you need to do 0, 1, and 2. So this is kind of bad. It just, yeah, but it's fixed now. So it's the one problem was the display ranges are kind of different. As the other commands, there's 30 structs for each command, and the structs can run on any string. But display range is tied to the string, so there's only 4 display ranges. But when you entered it, it was using the count number instead of the string number. And that's why the count number was you have to go 0, 1, 2, 3 because that's how it counted up. So, and I probably never caught this because I always used display range on strip 0 and 1. So how I did the code is I did 0, then I did 1. So that's kind of the reason why I never saw it. So it's fixed now. So sorry if anybody had problems using the display range, which if you didn't use it in sequential order, if you tried to just use it on like strip 1 right away, it wouldn't work. But now that's taken care of, which is good. So the next bug is I found is the thousands wasn't working. It was multiplying by 1,100 instead of 1,000. So I fixed this problem. It's kind of a weird one. So this was actually the code for to use the thousands. You bring the character in. So when you type in a number like 5, then it takes that. You take that 5 minus the 0, then that would give you numeric 5. Then you can put it through here, but it would give you 5,500. Like I said, it was multiplying by 1,100. And I'll see if anybody can catch where I went wrong in this. So the problem is actually right here. It should have been that. So that will make it 1,000. So, and I kind of do this quickly instead of going like the number times 1,000. Doing this is probably 1/3 of the time or a quarter of the time in cycles because I'm just multiplying it by binary math versus just having it doing a multiply instruction. So then in Hook of the Reaper, I found the player number check was using the wrong variable. It was using the number of flashes versus and not the player number. So I found this out, putting the stuff in, and it said player number was 0, and I had player number was 1. So I was like, well, what's going on? And found out it was using number of flashes. So I fixed that in Hook of the Reaper. Okay. Moving on. I added in slash and explosion commands. So as you saw probably in the video, how like the slash and explosion works. So slash is probably more for recoil, explosion for damage, and both have reverse and double. And all the settings are programmable, and I have updated the files. So now if you come down here, you'll see like slash commands and explosion commands too. And also, if you you come here into the release, you have those commands here. Then if you go into examples, I do have this file here. And if we open up this file, and the way I did it, instead of just making examples, I just kind of tell you how to change out. So you can, for recoil, which is like P1 CTM or anything, you can just cut and paste this command in. So you can take this command out and then you can put that command in. So pretty easy. Then I do the same thing for damage. Here's the command that you put in. Here's an example of it. Then for death, I have the same thing, but since death actually needs the player number, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, I have all the players here. Then I give example. So that's how people can actually use the things that I use, because I know a lot of people just want to use whatever I did and they never want to create their own. So this is the easy way to do it. So that's in the file now. Then the other thing is, it was kind of I did on a pre-release, is recalculates when switches the weapon. So this is when the old value is greater than the newer value. So kind of that's how it kind of normally works when you're shooting. And when the value difference is greater than 2 or more. So it kind of keeps track of that. I added in a new variable because kind of when display range is showing, commands can run on top of it. So when that kind of runs on top of it, it doesn't care about the old value too much. So I put in a new variable about the kind of real old value. So it kind of keeps track. So when you shoot, and if it's flashing when you're shooting, it will know kind of the real kind of where the ammo is all the time. So now when you switch weapons and the ammo values are 2 or more different, when when the new one is lower, it will switch. If the new ammo is higher, of course, that's not a problem. It'll just treat it as a reload. So that's good. Then last thing is I put in 9 more attract patterns. So I took like 30 minutes and added in like new attract pattern. So now if you go to add light controller, now you can see there's 13 things in here now. So now you can have fun trying out all the new ones. So there's a lot in there. Okay, so for Hook of the Reaper, I added a setting to, so for light guns, they can have a custom command file. So when you add a light gun, now if you come to settings, you'll have a custom command file where you can set or not. And what is the kind of custom command file? It's kind of the commands that's kind of used. So if you go into the data, so if you go into the data, right, like here's the Reaper, send in, like gun for IR, like blamcom. These are all the default command files. So you can actually, if you want to change it for a light gun, you can. You can now set it to a new file. If you set it just to the default file, it'll just not work. It'll just say, hey, that's the default file, and just keeps on loading the default file. But you can set it to a new file anywhere you want to. So that kind of makes it a little more easier if people want to custom things, kind of more of an advanced thing to do. Okay, I cleaned up the hook light processing, so a lot of the stuff was just all in one big function. So I went in and cleared all of it out. Not cleared it all. I made it all into separate functions now. So now it looks a lot better. So now it's not this huge processing function. Now it goes into is it buttons RGB? Okay, then it goes to this function. Is it buttons regular? Then it goes to that function. Is it, light strips? Then it goes to that function. So now it just goes into certain functions and all that. Now it's a lot more cleaner and efficient more because I made everything kind of more efficiently how it can seek out everything. Then the last one is kind of what I showed in the video, where now you can have actually multiple default files. So as you saw, I had one default file using slash and explosion, then another default file using just the random flash for the recoil, then flash for damage and death. So now I thought, instead of having kind of like a static default and seeing the same thing over and over, you can actually kind of mix it up now with different files. So how does that work? Well, now you kind of have numbered default files starting with 0. So you need at least 2 of them. So you need at least to have default 0 and default 1, right? And this is if you want different default files. If you just want the same default file over and over, you just use the same default without no number. So default.txt. This is for if you want to have different default files running at different times. So when you load up the next game, so the first game will be default 0, then the next game will be default 1, then default 2. Then if you don't have any more, it'll go back to default 0. So you need at least 2 of them because you can't really switch it. So if you just have default 0 and not default 1, it won't do anything. So you need at least 2. And it checks everything at startup. So if you add more files in, you have to restart Hook of the Reaper. And also what I did too is I made kind of the index of where it's at. So if the next file is going to be default2.txt, there's a file that it saves to. It's called lc index data.hor, and it's say our text and saved into the light files directory. And the reason for that is for game drives that open and close Hook of the Reaper all the time. So if you open and close Hook of the Reaper all the time, well, it's always going to just do default 0 then. So that's why I had to save that index to a file. So next time when somebody loads up and go, hey, now I should do default 1 or default 2 kind of thing. So if you come in here, if you go to light files and you go to examples, let hook strip, there's actually a default example 2-strip default 0 and 2-strip default 1 in there. So people can use those if they want to, if they have 2 strips, kind of just for example. But that's pretty much it. So the files are up on the website and everything's ready to go. So that's it. Bye.